UK Stories. By the end of today's episode, you'll hear how one family, desperate to escape rising energy bills, decided to live for an entire month without touching their thermostat, no matter the weather. Stay with us. Welcome to UK Stories, Episode 12, the podcast where we bring you the real human experiences behind the headlines. I'm Kate.
And I'm Mark. And Kate, these stories today are a powerful reminder of how quickly life can change, and how incredibly resilient people can be when faced with unexpected challenges.
Absolutely. We're diving into 3 deeply personal journeys today, starting with a story that I think will resonate with so many of you who are feeling the squeeze right now. Imagine you've just welcomed your first baby into the world. That beautiful, overwhelming joy, the sleepless nights, the tiny clothes. And then, the cold dread of an official-looking envelope hitting your doormat. That was the stark reality for Chloe, a 28-year-old from Norwich, just a few months ago. She and her partner, Ben, had scrimped and saved for years to make their little flat perfect for baby Leo. They'd painted the nursery, bought the cot, thought they had everything covered.
A new baby? That's already a huge financial adjustment, isn't it? Every penny accounted for.
Massive. And then, the news dropped. Chloe told me she was feeding Leo one morning, scrolling through her phone, when she saw the headline. Energy bills, they were saying, were set to jump by another £332 a year. £332. She just stared at the screen, her heart sinking.
Wow. That's not just a number, is it? That's groceries for weeks, that's baby essentials, maybe even a new pair of shoes for herself, which she probably hasn't bought in months.
Exactly. She said her stomach just dropped. They were already watching every single penny. Ben worked a demanding job, often long hours, and Chloe was on maternity leave, so money was incredibly tight. She'd been so careful, religiously turning lights off, taking shorter showers, unplugging chargers, but this felt like a punch to the gut. She pictured little Leo, snug in his tiny vest, and just thought, how are we going to keep him warm this winter without sacrificing something vital?
That must have been terrifying. That immediate, visceral fear for your child's well-being.
It was. She told me she spent the next few days in a daze, just calculating, recalculating. Could they cut back on food even further? Could they cancel their only luxury, a streaming subscription for a bit of evening escapism? She even considered going back to work earlier than planned, but then the spiraling cost of childcare would eat up most of her salary. They felt stuck, trapped between a rock and a very hard place.
So what did they do? Did they find a way to make it work, or did they have to make some really painful choices?
They did find a way, Mark, but it was incredibly tough, and it meant sacrificing things they'd come to rely on. Chloe said they sat down one evening, after Leo was finally asleep, and went through every single outgoing. Every direct debit, every subscription. They cancelled their gym memberships. Ironically, Chloe had just signed up trying to get back into shape and for a bit of me time. They stopped ordering takeaways entirely, even the occasional Friday night treat. Ben started cycling to work, even in the pouring rain, just to save on petrol. It wasn't about finding an extra £300, it was about finding every single little saving they could, just to absorb that unavoidable increase.
And did it work? Was it enough to ease that anxiety?
She says it's a constant battle, Mark. They're making it work, day by day, but the pure joy of new parenthood is now tinged with this constant, low-level financial anxiety. Every time she switches on the heating, even for a few minutes to take the chill off for Leo, she feels a pang of guilt. It's a stark reminder of how vulnerable we all are to these global events, and how quickly our carefully constructed budgets can be shattered.
That's such a powerful story, Kate. And I think so many listeners will be feeling that same squeeze, that same worry for their own families. If you're finding this useful and connecting with these stories, please hit subscribe. We put out new episodes, new human stories, every single day.
Mark, our next one is a story I couldn't stop thinking about. It's a really interesting, and much more uplifting, counterpoint to the struggles we've just heard about.
It really is, Kate. This one is about finding community, connection, and a completely new way to socialize, but in a place you might not immediately expect. We spoke to Sophie, a 23-year-old from Bristol, who told us she'd always felt a bit out of sync with her friends after university.
Out of sync? How so, when everyone's usually so connected in their 20s?
Well, she said everyone seemed to be spending their weekends in pubs and clubs, which is fine, and she'd tried it, but it just wasn't her scene anymore. She was tired of the hangovers, the expense, and she just felt like she wasn't connecting with people on a deeper, more meaningful level. Despite being surrounded by friends, she actually started feeling quite isolated and lonely, just going through the motions.
That's a really common feeling, I think, for young adults navigating post-uni life.
Absolutely. Then, a new gym opened near her flat. But it wasn't just any gym. She said it had this incredible buzz, almost like a nightclub, but without the alcohol or the late nights. Music pumping, vibrant lighting, group classes that felt more like dance parties than traditional workouts. It really intrigued her, because it looked so different from the sterile, intimidating gyms she'd seen before.
So it wasn't just rows of treadmills and weights then?
Not at all. Sophie told me she signed up on a whim, almost on a dare to herself. She was nervous at first, imagining all these superfit, judgmental people. But what she found was a surprisingly diverse, incredibly welcoming community. She started with a rave spinner class, imagined disco lights, a live DJ, and everyone just letting loose on their bikes. She said it was exhilarating, a proper endorphin rush, and she felt completely accepted.
That sounds amazing. So it very quickly became more than just exercise for her.
Completely. She started making friends in the changing rooms, grabbing smoothies with people after classes, swapping tips on new exercises. She found herself looking forward to her gym sessions not just for the workout, but for the genuine social interaction. She described it as having club vibes without the hangover, all the fun, none of the regret.
I love that. And it taps into something really important, doesn't it? Young people looking for healthier, more mindful ways to connect and build relationships.
Exactly. Sophie told me it completely transformed her social life and her outlook. She's found a whole new group of friends who share her values, people who want to be active, feel good, and still have a blast. She's tried everything from high-energy boxing to calming yoga, and she's even part of a running club that formed directly out of the gym. She said it's given her confidence she never knew she had, dramatically improved her mental health, and she feels more connected and purposeful than ever before.
What a brilliant turning point. From feeling isolated to finding a vibrant, healthy community. We're halfway through, and if you're not subscribed yet, now's a great time. Tap that button so you never miss an episode of UK Stories.
That's a fantastic story of positive change, Kate. And our final story today brings us back to those challenging energy bills, but with an incredible, almost unbelievable, twist.
It really does, Mark. This is the story I teased at the top of the show, about a family who took truly drastic action when faced with rising costs. We're talking about Liam and Sarah, and their 2 young children, from Nottingham. Liam and Sarah, like so many families across the UK, had been watching their energy bills creep up month after month. They both worked from home, a blessing in some ways, offering flexibility, but it also meant their heating and electricity use was consistently higher than average, especially with 2 little ones always around.
And with 2 young kids, Maya who's 8 and Finn who's 5, you can't just turn off the heating when it's cold, can you? It's not like you're just heating yourself.
That's exactly what they thought. They tried all the usual tricks, thicker curtains, draft excluders, layering up. But then, they saw the latest forecast, another £300 added to their annual bill. Liam told me it was the final straw. He remembered reading the advice from the International Energy Agency about changing how you travel, work, and even cook to save energy. He felt a desperate urge to do something.
So they took it to heart? How extreme did they go?
They did. But not in a small way. They sat down, looked at their budget, and realized they were heading for serious trouble if they didn't make a monumental change. Sarah, who's usually the more cautious and practical one, suggested something truly radical, something that made Liam's jaw drop.
Oh, this is the good bit. What was it?
She said, what if we just turn it off? For a month. The heating, I mean. No thermostat, no radiators. Just gone. A month without central heating, in the depths of winter. Liam said he thought she was completely crazy, but then he saw the sheer determination in her eyes, the desperation to regain some control. They decided to call it the Great Winter Challenge.
Gone. For an entire month? With kids? How on earth did they manage that?
Exactly. The children, Maya and Finn, were initially confused, of course. Why is it cold, Mummy? Why can't we turn on the warmth? But Liam and Sarah, with amazing ingenuity, made it an adventure. They bought thick thermal socks for everyone, fleece harnesses for evenings, and invested in a few really good quality, super warm blankets. They started having family snuggles on the sofa every evening, all piled under a giant duvet, playing board games and reading stories by the light of a single lamp.
That actually sounds surprisingly cozy in a strange way. A forced bonding experience.
It was, in a way. They moved their work-from-home setups into the warmest room in the house, which was the kitchen, because of the residual heat from cooking. Speaking of cooking, they started making huge batches of stew and soup in a slow cooker, which uses significantly less energy, and then warming portions on the hob. They even bought an old-fashioned stovetop kettle, rather than using the electric one, just to shave off those extra watts.
So they really leaned into every piece of advice, every little trick they could find.
Every single one. The kids would build elaborate blanket forts to stay warm while playing. They started taking quicker, colder showers, invigorating, Sarah called them, with a wry smile. Liam even began driving at 30 miles per hour everywhere, just to maximize fuel efficiency, even if it took him longer to get to the shops or pick up the kids.
And how much did they actually save? Was all that sacrifice worth it financially?
In that one single month, they cut their electricity bill by nearly a third, and their gas bill was almost non-existent. Over a year, if they kept up similar habits, not necessarily going full Great Winter Challenge again, but maintaining many of the changes, they calculated they'd save well over £500. That's more than enough to offset the new price hike, and then some.
That's incredible. But beyond the numbers, what was the biggest takeaway from all that sacrifice? What did they learn?
Liam told me it wasn't just about the money, though that was the initial driver. He said it forced them to slow down, to be more present with each other. They spent more quality time together as a family than they had in years, purely out of necessity. They learned to be incredibly resourceful, to appreciate warmth when they had it, and to find genuine joy in simple things: a hot cup of tea, a shared blanket, a board game. He said it was uncomfortable, yes, challenging, absolutely, but it completely changed their perspective on what they truly needed to be happy and secure.
Wow. That's a powerful lesson right there. From desperation to discovery, and a completely new way of living. That's UK Stories for today. These stories are inspired by real events, proof that real people face real financial battles every day, and some of them win. If today's episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend or family member who needs to hear it. You never know whose life it might change. Subscribe if you haven't already, leave us a comment below, and we'll see you next time. If you enjoy true crime stories too, check out our sister channel UK True Crime Stories, new cases every day.